cleaned off my desk. I don't have the nut button.
Unfortunate.
What the fuck?
Welcome. Hello,
In my
everybody.
closet.
Welcome back to Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This is session number 175. We are in Waterdeep, doing some stuff, hanging out, having a good time. Generally good time. Having a good time. Let's do a little bit of a recap, shall we? Previously, outside the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, in the snow-covered City of Splendors, the party awoke to a new day and a new month. Alturiak, the claw of winter, had come, and with it, another long month of ice and snow. But a city like Waterdeep never truly sleeps, even in the heart of winter. And as the great city rose from its slumber, so too did the party, intent on making progress toward their myriad goals on yet another day. For they knew deep below them in Undermountain, their enemies licked their wounds and made their own preparations. However, before they could work toward new goals, they needed to finish something else they had started. Nindeltath, the shadow over Moonglade, was still in their charge, and the Silver Dragon's welcome in Waterdeep had run out. After breaking their fast and attending to minor details, the party hired a dray to take them outside the city, the village of Undercliff. Matashtai took the opportunity to take Gallant out, which would prove fortunate in the long run. For within the cozy tavern at the center of the village waited Ezrah, the Sword Mountain Authority, the ally that would take charge of Nindeltath's care and Matashtai's mentor in the art of painting. The ancient copper dragon stood out like a sore thumb in the simple tavern, but the people in the shadow of Mount Waterdeep had learned long ago not to concern themselves with the strange individuals drawn to the City of Splendors. The party delivered Nindeltath into Ezrah's care, and the Silver Dragon thanked them for what they had done. Matashtai, realizing that he might not soon get another opportunity to do so, approached Ezrah with the shards of Nindeltath's children, and then the three of them spent the rest of the day working to create something that could bring good to the world and balance the scales against the tragedy that had occurred. The rest of the party, in turn, headed back into the city to handle their own business. Bones visited Eotedin, commissioning a new project from the High Elf and regaling him with tales of the party's travels. Eotedin seemed intrigued and concerned about the recent increase in the Tabaxi's skills. Though he didn't express it openly, it was clear to Bones that the enchanter was concerned about being left behind in the realm of craftsmanship, and so the bone-carving wielder of the Heart of the Mountain invited Eotedin to visit the legendary lost home of the Malarkin. Eotedin gladly accepted. Meanwhile, Ashes headed to the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians, spending a day with Beryl and furthering his skills as a potion maker. That evening, he found his way once more to the Temple of the Moon. Ezrah spent his time gathering supplies to take down to House Freth, including various gear, armaments, and a bevy of sweets, before returning home to study with the Tome of Calabash, making some minor breakthroughs in that front. And eventually the party gathered once more in Trollskull. Another day gone by, but not yet another night. For in the wee hours past midnight, Bones awoke to a shaking sound and was attacked by a shadowy viper, as Matashtai, somewhat listless in the night, contemplated if whether without his quarry spirit he might eventually be able to dream. And that is where we fade back into our party. Some people have better nights than others. So, that being said, everyone does eventually fall asleep. And you are all able to rest. And it is a new day. And nobody finds themselves in the yawning portal. So that's nice.
Sick.
It is the second day of Alturiak. It is downtime. What the fuck do each of you want to do?
All right, I'll go first.
Yes. Actually, hold on.
Yeah.
Un momento. Sorry, I apologize. I believe... Trying to think. We'd done that. We'd done that. I want to make an addendum to something that I said last time, because I reviewed some of the things that we had done in the past, and I realized I was slightly out of alignment with the decision makings that had been done previously. So I want to clarify something. Okay, so we have tried to be a little kind of like loosey-goosey in allowing like downtime activities and what all the party can do so that you guys can make progress on your own specific projects. We've brought that into the dungeon so that you can continue to make progress on those types of things, because it feels bad not being able to make progress while you're actually playing the game that we're trying to play, right? So we didn't want this weird dichotomy. That has turned into a situation where on the occasion when you're up top, there are activities that you want to do that would normally otherwise conflict, or normally they would just be done passively while you are doing other stuff, right, in the dungeon, while you're exploring, while you're adventuring, right? But I occasionally, and I realize that is my fault, I occasionally do not allow you to overlap those things while you are outside of the dungeon, calling them workdays. I realize, having gone back, taken the time to gone back and view some of our differing, scenarios of being up top in Waterdeep, I have not been completely consistent about what is a workday and what isn't a workday. So I'm going to make this statement. Because of the way we treat your scenarios in the dungeon, I'm going to say that every single day, Ashes can work on potions, Ezrah can work on the tome, Matashtai can work on talismans, and Bones can work on bone crafting, right? Those are the kind of like aspects that you have claimed. You get to do those every single day unless there is some weird extenuating circumstances, right? Okay? Aside from that, you also, while you are up top, right, you have the ability to put in a workday. You cannot put in a workday that is the same thing as your exclusive, right? So no doubling up, right? But there have been times, that's kind of like what we have just wanted to do. But there have been times in the past where I have specifically called out, no, you already did a workday today because you did your potion crafting, or you did your bone crafting, or whatever, right? And I've realized that that has been inconsistent with the overall concept of what I've wanted and with what I have actually allowed. So, specifically, this gets brought back up because Ashes on the first was curious about doing something with the Temple of the Moon, but I said, no, you had already done, potion crafting. That's your workday, right? So I feel like that is overall inconsistent. So Jay, specifically, I do owe you a free day there if you wanted to try to do something else there. But also that potentially changes your plans, because you had told Amnestria, I'll come do something with you tomorrow, which can stay, that's fine, right? But also, I feel like you should be allowed to go do a potion-oriented thing as well, right?
So like, just to simplify things, treating days like turns, and like our like unique things as like bonus actions, and then our like other outside of our unique things, it's like an action, and you get
Sure.
Someone's been playing Baldur's Gate.
However you need to think about it, I want to be more consistent and allow you guys to do the things that you want to do without feeling as if you're conflicted in choosing, well, this is the thing that, like, I don't want Bones to be like, I made a character around bone crafting, and now you're telling me either I can do bone crafting on a day, or I can do these other things that I consider important, that feels bad. I don't like that, right? So each of you has kind of like developed a thing that is uniquely yours. You can do that once per day, every fucking day, right? Dunzo. And then everything else is a work day type situation. Okay. That being said, Bones, you spoke up first. Jump into things. What do you want to do?
All right. So last night, I assume Matt finished my posters, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I did the posters.
All right. He posted up. First thing first, I'm gonna check in with A Nasty. Say, hey, did you find those guys?
Wonderful. I need you to roll me. Well, you already rolled for whether or not Anastas was successful.
I did. Okay.
Yes. Now I need you to roll a 1d3.
Two.
2.
Hey, leave the trash can alone. It's got a top on it for a reason.
Willant.
Well, fuck.
I absolutely willant. Sorry.
No, come out of there. I know that's your penguin. Move out of there.
Sorry, I'm having to look something up.
Go! Go, 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 go!
And he go.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, bring him back!
Well, shit.
He runs faster when you encourage him.
Does he?
Yeah, actually, Chew does too.
Lippo does that as well. When you...
Noises and zoom.
Go, 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 let's go!
He returned.
All right, son, you do some self-play.
I'm having to resort to unconventional methods to find the information that I need. So,
Alright.
continue onwards with your thought process. Anasis tells you, yes, they found a potential contact for Brigand Earth.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, step one, I'm gonna go to the dwarf bars. The dwarf bars.
The dwarf bars?
Yeah, the
Specifically
bars.
Dwarf bars.
I've been to a dwarf bar before.
You have been to a dwarf bar or a dwarf influenced bar, yes.
All right, I'm going to the dwarf bar.
To the dwarf bar, okay.
I'm gonna post one of my posters there.
How do you go about doing that?
I go to the dwarf bar. I go to the dwarf barkeeper. Or, I mean, any race. It's not. I guess they don't have to be a dwarf.
Okay.
I say, hey, can I post this on your bulletin board?
Gives you
Or
a dour
wall.
gives you a dour look. It gives you this kind of
I show them what it is.
Yes, it says above the board. As long as there's space, it's free to post.
Sweet.
Okay.
Don't rick me. I tell them, please don't rick me.
I don't know why I would, but all right.
That's fine. And then I go and post it on the board.
Okay. You do the thing.
So I post. In this instance, I'm going to say I have 4.
Sure, that seems reasonable.
I post another, or I'm going to go to the yawning portal and post in one there with permission. If I don't have permission, or I need your roleplay permission, you let me know.
You are free to do so in the yawning portal. They actually do have like a little section, but that does actually cost you 2 silver.
I pay.
Yeah. Durnan's a
All right.
businessman. You got to pay for everything in that fucking place.
That's fine. I'm getting ideas.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
Yes.
All right. I post the third one in Ravencrest Manor.
Ravencrest Manor.
Ravenloft Manor.
Ravenloft Manor.
What is it called? What's
Falconmere?
Falconmere?
Okay.
Yeah, I was not
I
close.
was like, we were going into a different world with Ravenloft.
Okay, well, I got bird word, so that's kind of where my brain was.
That's a pretty Zach interpretation, not gonna lie.
All right, so I'm posting another one there. I'm
Okay.
gonna let them know,
Yeah.
everybody. And then I'm going to post the final one in our place, but I'll do that before I leave, obviously.
Okay, sounds good.
And then once I get the information from him, and like what time they generally hang out there, that's what I want to do.
Yes. Let me, since I have gone through this process of finding this handy dandy, why is this?
Where is this person?
That's an important question, isn't it?
Seems more important than not.
That seems like an important question. And there is indeed an answer to it, but I am having difficulty discovering. Oh, there's part of the answer I was looking for 5 minutes ago, and now I've found it after I've already figured it out in a different, harder to figure out manner. Isn't that all the way of it? Always the way of it, rather. Okay, so we have. But where are they located? Thanks, game. You are given directions to a theater, slash tavern, but primarily theater, of which I cannot find the appropriate name, but there is an appropriate name, and I believe Bones is actually aware of the appropriate name of this theater, because it is a place where you met with a disguised version of Jarlaxle in the past.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I know that place actually.
It is in the dock ward. I just cannot remember, or I cannot find the name of it, but it does exist, and I will continue to look for it until I can find it. But you are given not really a time, you're just given the location and a name. The name being Felrect.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks. Perfect. Great job.
I think Anastas will tell you, hey, look, they seem obviously nothing to be worried about. Why would I be worried about you? You're great, but they seem like nasty characters.
Yeah.
So, you know, just... I'm sure you'll be fine.
Okay, thanks for the heads up.
That's it. Done.
I'll bring Mossy.
Okay. Is that what you're planning to do immediately?
Yeah.
Okay. You head through the city to the southward. Make your way to the, losing it over not being able to find the name of this place. You make your way to the theater that you have been informed about and that you are familiar with. You make your way inside. There's a very small lobby. There's like two humans here, two people here, humanoid figures. They do not look elvish. They definitely don't look drow, right? One appears to be kind of like very absent-mindedly running a ticket counter, basically. And the other is kind of just standing suspiciously casually nearby. And he happens to be a little bit more muscular, so he's just kind of like a not so subtle bouncer, kind of like out in the lobby.
The
Can you back away from me?
It's the Seven Masks Theater. Thanks, Tenebris. That's it. It's that one.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. What would you like?
Okay, I'm gonna walk up and I'm gonna say, I would like 1 ticket, please.
I
thought he was at a ticket counter.
He is. He kind of like looks at you. And he kind of like looks around, very kind of like confused.
And then I'm gonna say, in some nonsensical shit, when the light fades, darkness overcomes things. The leader in the icy area is requested by the King of Beasts.
I'm gonna interpret that as thieves' cant.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
I was like, what the fuck are we doing right now? Immediately, right? Like he's initially this individual at the ticket counter is you walk up and you're like, can I get a ticket? And he's like, and then you start like dropping code words and he's like, oh, yeah, okay. And he reaches over to a little like ticketing kind of like scenario, and he pulls one off and he writes something on it and he hands it to you, and he says box 4, and he kind of like hooks a thumb up to like the stairwell back and to the left. He says, up there.
Thank you. I give him a gold.
You like put the gold down on the counter and he like palms it, bites it. You hear like a little like
Stop biting that.
Like a little like not almost kind of like purr, but like a voice or a sound of like positivity, right? Like an approving noise kind of like coming from him. And then he kind of like nods at you and you see he actually like looks at you for the first time. And he kind of he looks at you for the first time and then kind of like does a double take as if he had maybe just assumed that you were a person wearing a bunch of furs previously, but now is like, oh, that's a cat person. Okay. And you just
Your
go
mother wants you.
walking up the stairs.
Me and Mossy.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so I will say, my assumption is while Mossy is around and about the majority of the time, that when you're traveling through Waterdeep, Mossy is, or when you're walking through Waterdeep, Mossy is probably in the ground.
Okay, well, is this place wood or stone? If it's stone,
because
cool.
the alternative is Mossy is nowhere near as fast as you, just even as at a walking pace, right? So you could walk around with Mossy, but it'll be really very slow and plodding. But in a place like this, you could bring Mossy inside, but that might cause more of a stir, so I leave that up to you.
No, I'm bringing Mossy.
Okay.
I give him a gold.
Every step that Mossy takes in this place is kind of like there's the groan of wood under his weight, because it is a primarily wooden building. There are like stone support structures in here, but the majority of it is wooden. And to kind of like reset that stage, that muscle guy, as soon as you walk in with this Zorn behind you, he's like standing up at attention, hand is behind him the entire time.
All right. I pay him no heed.
Zero
enough.
heed.
You go up the staircase, and Mossy goes step, and you hear this crack, and one of the steps just cracks inward.
Okay. Hey, Moss, maybe wait outside, but listen to see if I don't know, stomp really hard, because then I need your help.
Okay. Mossy just kind of like does this gravelly growl. He says, "Okay," right to you, but it comes out as like three stones being slammed against each other really hard, and the two guys in the lobby are just like looking with wide eyes at each other.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Mossy
All right,
trundles
I
out.
proceed
Yeah, you make your way
box
up.
4.
It is only 2 doors down. You see the landing that you walked up on. You pass a door that's marked box 2, and then you get to a door that's marked box 4. So it seems to be these are all the even doors on this side. You open the door, go inside.
Yeah, I just go in with confidence.
It's a small.
Hey, what did the guy write on the piece of paper? Did he just write box 4, or what did he write?
No, he did not write in box. He did not write box 4 on the piece of paper that he handed you. He wrote a little phrase in thieves' cant. Something, something, something. You know, the night shines on the one that doesn't look it in the eye type shenanigans, right? And it you interpret it to mean, be patient, he's busy.
Oh, well then maybe I should wait outside then.
Okay.
Nah, I go inside, but I don't interrupt anybody. I go inside and I wait.
You go inside and you find a little open box that looks out onto a theater, and it's a smaller theater, right? Like it's not a grand theater or anything like that, but it's got a big stage, enough seating down there for probably a couple hundred people maybe. And this box is roomy. It's a 10 by 10 box. A couple seats in here, but there's no one in here. It's just you.
Oh, okay. I'll just start hanging out then.
You can hear there is some sort of rehearsal going on down below you, and your freakishly high passive perception, aside from just seeing various actors and actresses and stagehands and things like that going about their business, rehearsing for stuff, you see a couple of people in the seats down below that seem to be conducting different styles of business, and it's here that you do start to pick out drow figures, right? There's only 2 or 3 of them, but you do see like one having a conversation with a couple of people down below in the seats. You see another that is kind of like you just kind of like catch them back behind the stage that they seem to be observing the proceedings. And then across the way, and it's actually would be normally very difficult to spy on the other boxes because they're specifically designed to try to cover to where you can't really see into each of them from them. But this individual is actually hanging out onto the railing of the box that he's sitting in. So you can actually see him, this kind of like drow, slick-backed white hair, kind of like these golden epaulets that are off on these kind of like cloth shoulders, big kind of like, almost kind of like 80s style, like big shoulder pads type scenario.
Like
right?
Zoot suit.
Yeah, it's kind of zoot suit style situation, right? So he's kind of like got this like overly big shoulders, slicked back hair, very refined, very fine features, and he seems to be very, very, very invested in watching the proceedings of specifically the actors going about their business. Want to do anything in particular? Want to try to accomplish anything, or are you just waiting?
What was that guy's name?
Felrek.
Zartem? Felrek?
Which guy? The guy that Anastas told you about?
Yeah.
Felrek.
Felrek. Zartem is a G.I. Joe villain, actually.
Interesting.
Okay. I'm gonna hang out, but I want to. What do I have on me? I don't want to make a lot of noise, but I want to like put something on the edge of the box so people like they know I'm like there.
Okay. So kind of like make it obvious that there is some sort of person, someone is in that box, but not kind of like make yourself obviously known. Like you're not hanging out over the railing or anything like that.
Yeah, like I wait my turn.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, you could easily like the equivalent of not putting a sock on the door necessarily, but like draping something over the banister to make it obvious that there is someone in occupying that box.
Yes.
When you do that, you note that the individual in those kind of like massive 80s shoulder pads, right? Like does after a moment notice, like look over and take note that that box has been occupied. And then they continue about their business for a few more minutes, but then they kind of like disappear back into their box so, to where you can't quite see them anymore. And then about five minutes or so later, there is a knock at the door.
I say, yes, hello.
There's not a response. The door just opens, and that individual walks in, right? And you see up close a...
You need to leave.
I always forget how freaking tall Bones is, but this is a tall, kind of like refined looking figure. But you still dwarf them. They're probably close to like 6'3", 6'4", something like that, right? Very refined elven features. Up close, you can tell their skin, which has that dusky hue that you've seen amongst most drow, is they're probably wearing makeup because it's actually even smoother and more perfect than it otherwise normally would be, right? Very slicked back hair, and you can tell that there's some sort of product that is being used in it. It's not naturally positioned that way, but it's still very fluid, right? Like not stiff in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And aside from the kind of like big shoulder pads, kind of like tunic that this individual is wearing that has these kind of like golden epaulettes coming off of it, they're wearing kind of a kilt would be the best approximation, right? But it's like these big black heavy materials that have these kind of like golden studs down one side. And he walks in and looks at you and kind of like looks you up and down real heavy. And you can tell he's trying to figure out who you are and why you're here, right? Like you could just see it on his face, and he looks up at you and says, "You're not an actor."
Well, I mean, I don't know, swords.
Kind of like frowns at you and says, "I think that means you are not an actor."
I mean, potato, potato.
You can see the door. He hasn't closed the door. He's just kind of like opened the door and walked in and is standing with the door open behind him. Bones, you see a telltale bulge at his hip. That I believe Bones has seen the shape of this thing before.
So it's a
Has
gun?
he now? Has
In
he
the
now?
Labyrinth,
Uh,
the movie with David Bowie.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a bulge there.
it's more to the side than the front. It's
A side? Ooh.
Is it that big?
It's a
Side
side
bulge.
it's a side piece.
Okay.
You see that the kind of like shape and size of a pistol at this
Mhm.
figure's hip.
He's a
Sure.
fusilier.
Okay. I'll say, no, I guess not an actor. Acquaintance of the master, maybe a little bit. Is he around?
You see this individual kind of like gives you a distasteful look when you say master. I
Of the guild.
assume
Sorry, not of people.
I know who you're speaking of, and no, he's not present at this moment. He has returned home.
Mm-hmm. The home in the north or the home below?
And what would you know about either of those?
Enough.
He has returned to Luskan to winter there.
Can you stop?
Yeah, Jeremy, can you stop?
I'll
Not
work on
you.
it.
He's licking, and
He'll lickin'.
you're gonna get full shirted, brother.
Full shirt.
Full shirt.
Full shirt mode.
How do you partially shirt?
You only put the head in. You don't put his arms in the sleeves.
Partial
Okay.
shirt's just the threat.
I said, okay. Is there any way to get in contact with him? I've really got some stuff I want to discuss.
I am his liaison within the city while he is gone. If you have something to discuss, you can discuss it with me. If you were important enough for it to be discussed directly with him, you would already have a means with which to contact him.
Happy to discuss it with you. Doesn't really concern the city, though.
He kind of like turns and you see his eye, he looks back and you see two figures like come into the room very suddenly, like come into the room behind him and close the door, right? And you realize they had been waiting in the wings if something had happened. And now the three of them are just in the room with you, in front of the door, with you out like towards the side of the box. And this individual looks at you and he says, "I'm listening."
Well, I'm having a feud with a certain drow house, and I'd like them to fall out of favor.
See his eyebrows just go the fuck up. Like, who the fuck is this fucking tabaxi? I say that. I say he has that reaction. As he's having this reaction, you see him give you another look up and down, right? And then there is a kind of like widening of his eyes and a recognition of who you are.
Hi, I'm Bones.
He looks less sure than he did a moment ago. But he also looks more pliable, potentially, right? Like he looks more amenable, right? Like more like he's actually listening to you now. And he says, "What makes you think we would be interested in assisting you in the downfall of a drow household?"
I don't know, there's always something to gain with the shifting of power.
And what household might this be? And you realize, like, now is the scenario of like, this is where the coin flips, because if you say the name and it's like, oh, they're our best friends, this could be a bad time.
Yeah. I'm gonna position myself with my back to the open box, like the. So if I have to jump, I'm gonna jump.
Roll me a perception check as you do.
Okay. Perception abnormal.
He is 22.
Yeah, I rolled a 30.
Woohoo! Yes. As you do, you don't have to shift much because your instincts have already kind of like positioned you in an appropriate place, but you do kind of like shift your weight and lean up against one of the chairs that's in here, and then kind of like relax, and doing that kind of like shifts you a half a foot over to the side, right, while this conversation is going on. But as you do, you hear very distinctly, you hear these two clicks. Both coming from different directions, right? One back and to the kind of like right of you, and you realize that's towards the box where you had originally seen this person, right?
Yeah.
And then you hear this kind of like click coming from down amongst all of the other commotion and people in the kind of like seats. There's not a play going on, but there are people just kind of like milling about, hanging about, etc., etc. And you distinctly, from so many battles and so much time spent, you can recognize these two clicks as the sounds of crossbows being kind of like readied, right? Like there's that as they're being kind of like drawn back.
Cool. Yeah, he got shredded. Okay. I'm going to. Are there any of those stone supports in this little room here?
The next to the doorway, right,
Oh,
is
the
where
doorway.
one of the columns, one of the big stone columns, comes up through. And you recognize probably every single one of these box offices has that same style of like big stone column coming up right next to the doorway, go down a little ways, big stone column coming up right next to the doorway, etc., etc.
Okay, well, I'm not next to the doorway. Hold on just one second. Okay. I will, I'm gonna palm in my pocket a flashbang.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna say...
Do for me a sleight of hand check.
Okay. Trying to be real casual like.
Yep.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's not great.
15. I mean,
that's pretty good.
I was gonna say, like, you guys gotta remember, you guys are 13th level adventurers, so a lot of times when we're down in the dungeon and we're rolling for like high stakes 20s, 25s, blah 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 blah. But a 15 is actually really good. Like a 15 is like you could be like taking things out of people's bags or pockets in the middle of like a crowd, you know?
Yeah,
so
you just compare it next to a 30 and it's
exactly,
like, oh,
right?
okay.
Like 100%. But a 15 is still pretty good. So it's possible that it doesn't seem likely. Obviously, the two crossbow people can't directly see you, so they will not have known. And it doesn't appear to you from your natural passive insight that either of the two individuals flanking this person have noticed anything, Ezrah, right? This person might know, but if they do, they're not letting on about anything.
Yeah. All right then. Say, are you sure you want to know? Because as soon as you know, then you know.
It looks at you.
All right. I'll take that as a sign he
Very
doesn't have to say
interested.
anything. House Avrendar.
Yep.
Roll for initiative.
Roll me a D20, no modifiers. You want above a 5.
Okay. Please? Oh my god, I did it!
Holy shit!
The fuck? you told the man I'm above 5.
Fuck! All right,
Ask and thou shall receive.
that was a luck roll. That was what that was. Was a blind luck roll because who knows how far-reaching Avrandar's tendrils are. Who knows what kind of trade policies and practices they have, etc., etc.
Sure.
Excepting, at the very least, it is plausible to keep in mind that House Avrandar has fled Minzo Baranzan, right? They were a house of some power prior to the Rage of Demons, and they left, meaning that perhaps they are more of a fallen house, or perhaps they had other reasons to leave. Regardless, though, a true Drow house, a true power in Minzo Baranzan, seems unlikely that they would just leave that seat of power, right? And when you say the name House Avrandar, there is some sort of that, whatever the reasoning, right? There is some sort of that, like, across this person's face, there is almost this kind of like reaction of, oh, those people, right? And you feel immediately, right, like you get that impression of like, okay, well, at least they're not allies, right?
Yeah,
they're not like
allies.
best fucking buddies. Yes. I don't believe I have introduced myself. I am Felrect, and as I said, I am acting liaison for Brigand Earth while our leader is away. At least
Stayed
for
in the
this
graveyard,
sect
but
that
most
is
people
within
call
the
me
city.
Bones.
It's interesting to make your acquaintance.
I hear that a lot, actually.
Kind of rolls his eyes at you a little bit, right? He says,
Not sure why.
tell me more about this and what you're wanting done.
Well, I would really prefer if they were unable to receive reinforcements or aid from as many people that were willing to withhold that.
Well, it's very easy for us from a contractual standpoint to say that we simply will not contract with them as long as our contract has been purchased elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But insofar as flexing our capabilities in preventing others, or at least discouraging others, that would be an entirely different matter. We would need significantly more collateral to make that happen.
Okay. So talk to me about flexing your muscles in other ways.
Well, Brigand Earth is a powerful guild and comes with the added benefit of having a very influential member of society as its head. If we have the incentive, we can apply that pressure, and it's likely that, as you say, we could cut off or drastically hamper House Avrandar's ability to resupply and reinforce from those other lesser houses.
And what would this sort of contractual obligation potentially cost us?
You could hire the services of Brigand de Earth as a mercenary group, or you could retain Brigand de Earth's services, thus preventing another from purchasing the services, which would come at a cheaper cost. But I do not think money is a consideration in regards to Brigand de Earth flexing its influence to such an extreme. You would need to bring something to the table yourself. Something very valuable.
Something very valuable.
Friendship.
Yes. That's my answer. Friendship?
We are not uninterested in being friends with specific individuals. You are not an uninteresting individual. But I do not necessarily think you are, at this current point in time, an interesting friend.
Ow.
Damn.
Ow. Just twist the knife.
What?
Someone hurt me.
What
Somewhat
guilds
hurtful.
do you own and operate? What factions do you run? What trade routes can you secure for us? What opportunities do you bring us, other than the potential to knife a rather annoying household in the back?
Well, the potential to house a rather or knife a rather annoying household in the back, for sure. And the knowledge that it's going to happen soon.
As I said, we are not uninterested in powerful friends, and you are not an uninteresting person. But I do not think at this time you are an interesting friend.
Interesting.
Interesting was used so many times in the last minute.
Interesting. Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I want to give this up. Hey, how much is my book worth when it's dead? It comes alive in like 100 years, right?
100 years, yeah.
Drows live a long ass time.
Maybe.
What do you mean? If they don't die, sure.
If someone's not cutting up their fucking beds, yeah.
Well, don't get yourself into a situation where that has to happen.
It would not be uninteresting to a lot of people, but 100 years is a long time to gamble on. Even for someone that is as long-lived as a drow, it's still like, sure, why don't I just visit you in 50 years and see if you still want to sell it then? You know? Like...
Okay.
I will say during this, right? Like, there can be, some minor conversation going on. Felrect will give you more complete information in telling you that you could retain Brigand de Earth's services, i.e., you pay for them to not take a contract from someone else, i.e., not take a contract from Avrindar, right? He'll say they'll do that for 1,000 gold, right? Which is a pretty low sum, right? Or you could hire a squad of Brigand de Earth's mercenaries, right, as kind of like a battle group for 5,000 gold, right? And in doing that, you do the same thing, right? Like, you basically say, hey, Brigand de Earth is working for us in this particular front, meaning they're not going to take a contract from someone else, because they're not going to fight themselves, right? So you could do that, but beyond that, them flexing their influence that's more than just money to them, right? Like they need something else. They need influence, they need power, they need trade, they need some, they would need like favors from really powerful people or cities or things like that,
Okay. Well, I don't have favor with the city. That's a lot. Y'all do a lot of business at the dungeon?
We have various contacts with certain individuals in some spaces of Undermountain. Most of our business is conducted legitimately here in the wonderful city of Waterdeep.
Sure, yeah, it is quite wonderful. Okay, well. I could offer you a safe place to stay in the dungeon. Some might call it a nexus of sorts.
It's not uninteresting, but in its own, I cannot say that matters to us especially much.
Okay. That and a favor.
We do not know the worth of your favors, and therefore cannot make a gamble on that particular front.
The worth of my favors got your leader a seat at the table.
We have no reason to believe that we would not have gotten there faster if we had not had to contend with the annoyance of you and your friends.
And yet, me and my friends got there first. You would have been met with an angry gold dragon.
Be that as it may, you can roll a persuasion check if you would like, at disadvantage.
Yeah, what the hell? Why not?
Sure.
On 5.
Like he's not upset by you trying to haggle or trying to get a leg in. He's just not interested, right? Like everything that you've kind of like offered has not been enough to really pique his interest in that regard.
Yeah. All right. Well. Okay. Well, I don't really think I have anything, to offer any more than, my word and favor, and knowledge. So.
Well, if that changes, you know where to find us. And if you wish to seek our services, you also know where to find us. Though I would say, perhaps lock in what you're interested in sooner rather than later, because who knows who might come calling, wanting to hire us.
Well, if they do, I hope it's not someone I'm feuding with.
Kind of shrugs.
Because there's 3 other people just as dangerous, if not more than I am, aligned against them.
There are many dangerous people in this world. Far more than 4.
Yeah, the Xanathar thought he was pretty dangerous too. I swam in his eye.
Gross.
Roll me an intimidation check. Gross.
Yeah, I'm good at those. A 5.
5. Roll a dice. Roll a dice. Could have been a 20.
Oh, it is what it is.
He looks at you, not dismissive, right? But still not shaken. Not gonna change his mind. And
Yeah,
right now
fair enough.
he is acting like very much like the businessman, right? Type scenario. Like he's put the offers on the table. You could choose to take them if you so choose, right? So he almost kind of has that almost kind of like retort style scenario of like, if you do not wish to see us on the battlefield, you know exactly what you need to do.
Alrighty, well. I will pay you. I will retain you to do nothing. However, my price is 500 gold.
Roll me an insight
It's a
check.
deal.
$17? Okay. Roll me a persuasion check. Straight up. DC is 13.
18.
You say that, and Belrek looks at you and says, agreed, wonderful. And reaches out his hand to shake on it.
All right. Yep. Okay,
And-
got it.
And you shake on it, and you realize a moment after that he jumped on that way too fast. They weren't going to do anything anyways. He just got 500 gold out of you.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. I pay him. I'm a cat of my word.
He doesn't like count it out. He like, you pull out the gold, and he waves one of the guys standing next to him to kind of like come and sort
Okay,
through it and
gold.
everything
I'm
like that.
paying
Or
platinum.
fine, platinum, whatever. And he just looks at you and says, another 4,000 and you could have us at your side. Well, not me specifically, but some of us.
1,000?
Yeah,
4,000 more. Yeah.
yeah, another 4,000. Yeah, it was 1,000 to I guess technically it would be 4,500, but it was 1,000 to retain them to do nothing and 5,000 to actually hire a unit of Brigand Day Earth.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I've more or less just.
I
hated
mean,
them
with
not
that
to-
persuasion check, it's half the price, right?
No, not currently.
Well,
Because
more
of
or
the
less, I
prior
just paid for them
persuasion checks.
Not to go and offer their services to Avrindar is basically what I just paid.
That's basically what you've done. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't so much insinuated, but that was definitely a scenario there of like, look, if you walk out of here not paying us anything, why wouldn't we just go run to Avrindar and be like, guess who tried to hire us?
Yeah, I know, and that's what all the blunder was about. Well, if you get hired by them, I'm going to kill you, but it just didn't quite make it there.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's fine.
Okay.
All right then. Well, hope not to see you.
You won't unless you seek us out. And I do hope you do. I believe it would be a prudent business choice for you. And if your lot changes in the near future, you come into some connections or control, you know where to find us.
Sure do.
Bones, the individuals move out of your way, allowing you to leave the box office without contest, and you're able to head back out and reconvene with Mossy.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantabulous. All right. We're gonna jump to somebody else. Who else wants to do a thing this fine morning.
I mean,
At
I've
this
got
point,
like an
all I'm
entire-
doing is trying to talk to some priestesses about how do I dream better. So if we
Yeah,
want
and
me to do
I've
that,
got like
I
a
can.
whole
But I kind of figured that like I would bring up the tail end once everyone else is done doing what they want to do.
That's fine.
Well, mine's at night as well.
Are
I got afternoon plans.
well, so
I guess I could go see if I can find the masked man.
Sure.
I can
Ooh,
get
do that.
a day of that.
all right. So I was gonna say again. Remember what we started today off with, right? Like, bones or ashes, for example. If you want to go get in some time training at the apothecary, you could do that. Or if you want to go instead of training at the apothecary, just spend time potion crafting, you could do that.
Can I do apothecary and still
Yes.
keep my promise to Amnestria?
Yes, yeah, that was what I was talking about at the beginning.
Okay.
Is you so I'm going to count doing something like progressing your training in a thing as that's your thing for that day, right? So like if you go and try to increase your training at the apothecary and physicians, right? That's your potion crafting for the day, you know? But you still get the one. So. And if you want to do that, we don't have to roleplay that if you don't want to, but you could just be like, "Hey, boo boo boo. Do you have that? Do you have that marked?"
Do I have what marked?
Do we have a clear marking on how much time left you need for your potion training?
Yes, I have a resource for it in my
Okay.
sheet. It's days of rare pot training, which are currently at 2 of 5.
2 of 5. Okay, so if you do today, you'll go up to 3?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Is that what you would like to do?
That is also correct.
Fantastic. Okay, so you can go ahead and mark that. And then Matashtai, you basically want to do the same thing with the masked man, is go find him and try to continue with more persuasion trading?
I will attempt to, yes.
Okay, fantastic. You are successful this time around, right? The next day, or this day, the masked man is no longer or one, classes are back open, and two, the masked man is no longer out doing other events because of the holiday. So you're able to find him and spend some time going over one, kind of like getting a little grilled initially with like, what have you been up to? Where have you been? How have things going? Right? And you realize as you are kind of like getting, are you actually, I say that, are you resistant, or do you just kind of like talk to the masked man about things?
No, I'm not really resistant.
Okay.
I'd kind of talk with him, tell him I'm a little sad these days. Trying to figure out how I can save Valena. I know she's not gone, but it's still scary not having her there. I confide in him a little bit.
So the masked man will listen to anything that you're willing to tell him, and he pries, but he doesn't like pry. He like asks questions that are obvious invitations to allow you to continue talking more about things if you would like to, but you don't have to, right? Like none of them are forceful like inquiries, and he's not digging or anything like that. You realize after talking to him for about 2.5 hours, right, that he is obviously a very nice person and interested in what you have to say and caring, and also using this as an opportunity to get you to just talk openly and freely about things, and this is part of your overall training. Roll me a persuasion check.
All right, I'm on it. If
He's
I can
on.
find my character sheet. Persuasion.
Success!
Yeah.
Continued success. What are we at now?
7.
7 out of 10?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right. We're getting there. Have you, I don't think I think
I don't think I failed.
I don't think you have failed a training scenario. You have failed other
I'm
persuasion checks, right? But I don't think you have failed a training scenario because it's just get above a 10, right? Awesome, very cool. You, after having the realization that the masked man is using this as part of your training, whether you call him on it or not, he kind of like breaks off that particular portion and takes you through some actual kind of like training scenarios. And you continue onwards. Very cool. Bounce over to Ashes is gonna do Temple of the Moon stuff later. Matashtai, you're gonna want to do looking for opportunities to do dream stuff later, right?
Yeah, which I think is at the Temple of the Moon, right?
That is not going to be at the Temple of the Moon. That is going to be at the Pantheon, the Temple of the Saladrin.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Which is,
Temple
I think
of
it's
the
marked on the map. It is in the Castle Ward, I believe. Oh, they don't have all the temples marked on the map, dude. Yeah, they do. The Temple of the Saladrin. It's in the Castle Ward above the Hawkman.
Got it.
It's actually a stupidly massive building. It's one of the biggest buildings in Waterdeep that isn't a like castle. You know?
Interesting.
It's pretty massive. Anyways, Ezra, you're the last person to do morning activities. What do you want to do? If anything.
Point of inquiry.
Potential answer.
So I purchased some magical items yesterday.
Yes.
In regards to the size, there's the egg of fog. Is that the size of like a normal chicken egg?
Yeah,
or
it's the
is
size
that
of a normal egg. Yeah.
Okay.
And almost kind of like operates in the same way. It's like you just huck the egg and it's like...
Nice. So I would do my normal early morning checking in with everyone, breaking my fast, do a little light reading, and then as the morning for the city starts happening, I would make my way back to town square just to see things come back to winter normal.
Sure. But town square, do you mean to like the Great Market?
The market.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sure. It's... Go ahead.
With the intent of finding a way to wrap up the egg and the ring in a little package.
Oh, like a gift wrapping type scenario?
Yep.
Oh, super easy. Cool. Real quick before I forget, Bones, you said that you were putting posters in that Dwarven Bar, the Yawning Portal, Falconmere, and at the Lifted Spirits, right? That was the last place?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. I was looking at my notes and realized I did not have that. Okay, so Ezra, yeah, you're able to head out to the market, and you can see now there is still the central ice skating ring is still kind of like up and open in the market.
Sure.
They leave that
Tis the
open at
season.
this point. 'Tis the season, exactly. Yep. But the others too have been kind of like like dug up, not really dug up, but like comb like over, like they put down fresh earth over everything, and it gets kind of like snowed on, etc., etc. They dig these kind of like semi-shallow pools and fill them with water, and then ice mages come in and freeze everything solid, etc., etc. It's this whole big thing. But the two smaller side ones are gone now. They've been taken out, and all of the stalls that are open in winter, not all of the stalls are open in winter, but probably about 60 to 70% of them kind of stay open. And most of the bigger ones stay open year round because they are kind of like the bigger brand name kind of like style scenarios there. And there are a number of little places, both big and small, that do gifts and do gift wrappings with those types of situations. You could easily just go to the market this morning and spend hours wandering around and getting involved in the various different things. There's a lot of foods here that are cooked openly and sold. There's little like almost kind of like carnival game like areas that are consistently open for kids and things like that, or adults, because those are fun. Or if you come in very businesslike, you could be like, that place, and you can be in and out in under like 10 minutes.
I would not be making a day of it.
Sure.
I would make sure everything I would do a very minute amount of sightseeing.
Sure.
Maybe with the intent of spending an hour or two out for the trip.
It's Ezra's curiosity scenario. It's maybe
Right.
you didn't even plan it. You were just gonna go there and do things, but then you saw some stuff and you were like, "Oh, I'm interested in this," or "Oh, what's going on over here? Oh, I need to see this." Get a little distracted. Continue onwards. What do you want to do in regards to the gift wrapping? Is it just, oh, let's put this in some paper, or are you looking for like a big shebang? Do you have any particulars that you're wanting?
Burlap sack.
You could be like, please gift wrap this, and I will go, great, we continue. Or if you have something particular, that's on you.
Ezra would like to be thoughtful and delicate,
Okay.
but also try not to send the wrong message.
Okay, so what would Ezra consider to be the wrong message?
I don't know. Ezra's having a moment.
So now I think now almost kind of like half roleplay, half not roleplay, right? Like you're talking to this person who's kind of like asking you, right? Okay,
Right.
So I'm just gonna ask some questions to see if I can kind of like figure out what the right thing is and the wrong thing is, right? Is this romantic?
I don't know.
Okay, so that's what we're stuck on. That's the problem here. Okay.
Maybe.
I get it. So do you want this to be romantic?
He does one of those awkward, like, blank stares where he's thinking really hard about the response.
Understood. And the concern is whether this should or shouldn't be romantic.
Correct.
Look, honey, you just gotta roll the dice. Unless you just want to play the long game, we can just make something very nice, very lovely, but obviously not that. And maybe that's good and leads to longer term situations, or maybe it doesn't.
I think knowing the party involved, function over Blair is probably preferential.
What line of business is this person in?
Military.
Okay. All right. This attendant walks away, asks for a moment, walks away, and comes back with not like wrapping paper and bows and everything like that, but more of like a sturdy lockbox, right? That it's refined and it looks good, right? And it's obvious that you could wrap it up and do something with it, or like pretty it up so that it looks like a fine kind of like gift container, but then also could be afterwards used functionally, right? And it's got opens it up, there's this kind of like felt line scenario where like you could do something like keep jewelry in here or something like that, or you could keep smaller refined tools for like, whether it's like very refined cutting tools or little magical objects or things like that, right? Like this could be a functional piece outside of just a box and some paper. And
like
she
it.
basically tells you all of that. She's like, here's my suggestion.
I concur.
Wonderful. I'm going to take these and put them in here. She does, closes the box. I'm going to wrap it in this. I think silvers and blacks are going to be nice, but not send any particular message. And just in case, we'll put a nice silver bow on it. And if perhaps that gets interpreted as something, great. And if not, that's also fine.
I like where your head's at.
Wonderful. All right. That happens. It's 3 gold for the whole ensemble, and that buys you. Really, it's only like 5 silver for all of the wrapping and everything like that. But it's basically like 2.5 gold for the box. You kind of got upsold into the box, pretty much.
It works.
You
It
know?
works.
But yeah, now you have this.
I was an easy target.
It's got this. It's even got this like little handle on the side that comes out of the wrapping paper, that so you can carry it around very easily. Very secure. I say very secure, but it's locked, and it's nice and locked. But it's probably one of those locks of like, it's locked for me or you, but it's not locked for Bones, right? Like it's like the lockpicking lawyer type scenario where it's like, click, 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 unlocked.
It's not locked for a level 3 Bones.
Yes, exactly. Right? So there you go. Cool.
Cool. That goes in my haversack probably, and
Easy peasy. It's not especially big. It's maybe like, close to, not quite a foot in diameter, but close to a foot, right? Like, decent little good sized box, but nothing massive.
is it heavy?
No, not especially. It's made out of a pretty light wood. It's maybe like 3 pounds total.
Including its contents?
Yeah, well, I mean, all you're putting in there are a ring and the egg, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the contents there are negligible. Right. Cool.
And then after that, I will head back to Trollskull and check in / support the staff and see what needs to be done and how I, as a partial owner of this establishment, can better serve my staff and my customers.
How do you want to approach that? Do you want to be kind of like a coach? Do you want to try to be a facilitator? Are you actively magically trying to enhance things? What's your angle?
It's more continuing what I was doing before, where I'm listening to the staff and trying to be
So kind of like a mentor,
receptive to
support,
feedback.
receptive, like hear what the problems are, and then go to Cine and say, hey, we should try to facilitate this type of thing, XYZ.
Yep.
Okay, roll me a persuasion check for that.
25.
25. Yeah, fuck yeah, good. Likely to have a positive influence. But these types of things play out over the course of time, so.
Right, yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
And then eventually I'll tone down.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll play that in kind of like the afternoon style scenario, which I think closes out the majority of the morning for us. There's probably other little things that we can do if we need to get to, but we will check on those when we get back from break. In just a few minutes, we'll be back for more Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Hear me? Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.